Hi, I'm Daniel Fisher here at Sweetwater Sound. Today I'm really excited to show you the Behringer Toro. It's a classic analog-based synthesizer with two VCOs and a low-pass filter. It's a 24 dB per octave, or 4-pole. And you have control for filter attack and decay, as well as volume attack, sustain, and decay. You can control the oscillator frequency of oscillator B. You can also control the mix between the two oscillators. You can set the octave. You can set a glide time, and then you have buttons to turn the glide time on and off. You have a decay button that adds additional decay, and you can jump up an octave with the octave button. There are 3 presets, Toro, tuba, and bass, and they each give you a famous sound of the original Moog Taurus 1 pedal that this is modeled after. And then when you hit variable, then you can do all of this preset up here, and it will stay even when you change the other presets. Big volume knob over here. It works with MIDI. It works with control voltages, so it can take pitch in as well as filter, as well as gate. And I'm going to control all that with the Arturia KeyStep Pro, since I can send both MIDI, and then I'll show you that it works just as well with the voltages. So I'm very pleased with that. And then off to the side, I have the Source Audio Nemesis delay, which I'll show once I've kind of shown you all the sounds and everything, because I always like to hear a synthesizer through a good delay, especially if it can have modulation, and just to hear what it sounds like bouncing around. So first I'll show you the 3 presets. This is Toro. Then, like I mentioned, you have control over the filter, so you can play with that. And if you hit decay, you get a longer decay time. It's pretty long. And then you can change octave, and you can do it while you're playing. And here's tuba. And the last one's just called bass. So now I'm going to go to variable, and that's a preset that now reads all of these sliders up top. And it's beautiful because you can set that up and then use the other ones, jump back to that, and then that's all set where the way you want it. And you can see it. So it's not like it's storing values. Those values are what they are. So you see what it is. And the first one is the octave. And so I'm going to put the mix slider all the way to A. So we're only hearing one oscillator now. And so I can do high. But it's only 5 octaves, and that is the nature of how they design the oscillators to make it really good on the bass end. You don't get the full range. So if I keep going up, I'm going to run out. Okay, so while it can do lead lines, it's just never going to go higher than this. So now I'll take it back to the lowest octave. And again, it won't go any farther left than that. Okay, it's just 5 octaves. And I'm now going to add the second oscillator, or B, and it will be slightly out of tune. That's the nature of analog oscillators. It's what we like it for. But I will try to bring it as close into tune as possible, and then we'll talk about the difference between the oscillator B frequency slider and the beat knob, or the beat detune knob. So first let's mix them together. And now I'm going to try to lock that in. So that's pretty slow, but I cannot stop it. You're going to hear it, but it's a beautiful part of synthesis. Listen to this. And now just for a moment, I'm going to turn the echo on just so you can hear what that phasing does into an echo. And so now we'll move on to the attack, sustain, and decay of the volume. And they don't work exactly like modern ADSRs. Again, this is modeled after the original Moog Taurus, and so it maintains that behavior. But the attack works pretty much the way you'd expect. Here's a fastest attack. And the sustain level kind of works more like a patch level, because you're not falling to that level. It seems to just be the level of that patch. So here's the example of that. And then decay is pretty subtle until you push the decay button. So here's the shortest decay. And then here's the longest decay without the button pressed. And now with the button pushed. And then we're coming over to the filter section. You've got two knobs that control the cutoff. So I can do it this way. I can do it this way. And they are both interacting together. They're both acting on the filter cutoff. And then, of course, contour amount. That is how much the attack and decay are going to the filter. So if I turn that all the way off, the filter is going to be static. Of course, I can move it by hand. And then as I turn up the contour amount, then we start getting the attack and decay on that. And by starting with that filter knob halfway, I know I can go a little darker, I can go a little brighter. I got things to do on that. And then, of course, the octave button still works. And now let's talk about the difference between oscillator B frequency and beat tuning, or beat detune. And that is, if I set my beat detune straight up and down so it's not having an effect, and then tune the oscillators pretty close together like this. And now I go all the way up top. It's pleasant in both ranges. But let's say I start speeding up the detune between oscillator B and A and get it to here. Now, that's pleasant for certain kinds of music, but as I go higher and higher and higher, the difference in detuning frequency will become greater and greater, and it will be too much out of tune up here. Watch. So what they've come up with is this beat detune. In other words, what it does is it keeps the same beating frequency regardless if you're playing low notes, middle notes, or high notes. And so the way I'm going to show that is I'm going to try and get the oscillators very close to perfectly in tune again. And now I'm going to use beat detune to get a slight difference. Okay, now I've got some motion, but notice as I go up the octaves, that motion stays the same. So beat detuning is very cool, especially when you work with both the oscillator frequency and beat detuning. You can create situations where it's more in tune down here, less in tune up here, vice versa. Just all kind of clever things you can do with that. So it's very useful. And also notice that you rarely want the mix of the AN oscillator when you're in bass mode, when you're trying to create bass sounds. You don't want them the same volume because you never want the difference between the two frequencies to completely cancel out the sound or significantly take away the volume from it. So watch how I kind of do a mix that's a little heavier toward A, and you'll just see it's more solid. So here's A only, here's B only, and you can already hear they're slightly out of tune, but now I'll start mixing in B. But if I mix too much, I lose a little bit of the solidity, and so I'm going to go back toward A a little bit. And if you got big speakers, you can hear it just has a bottom end that's bigger and doesn't move as much. And then we talked about glide. If I turn it on, all of a sudden I can glide from note to note. And here's the slowest. And then above the volume knob, you've got your MIDI in. You got a headphone out, the main volume knob. On the back, you got switches that let you pick which of the 16 MIDI channels you're listening to. You just set the 4 switches. You can pick from 1 through 16. There's also USB. That's so you can use it for MIDI that way, or you can use the Synth Tribe application to change some of the global parameters about the synth, like is it first note priority, last note priority, low note priority. I personally like last note priority. I recommend as soon as you get the software connected, hook it up and try that one first. I think it's the one you'll like the most because that way notes work on either side of a held note and you can trigger that. And that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to just play with it, and I will here and there kick in the Nemesis delay to give you an idea what it sounds like with chorus and some ping pong delay. And I'll also have the arpeggiator going on here. And but one last thing I do want to do, and that is to prove to you that the voltage works just as well. And so what I will do is take the pitch out and the gate out, and I'm going to disconnect the MIDI, and it should still work. Just to prove no tricks. So I'm really pleased to see that because not all synths just automatically work with voltage, and especially the bass synthesizers often had a different voltage scheme. So I'm just really glad it all just works with my standard Eurorack voltages, and all that works great. So now let's play with it. Okay, well, that was just a quick look at the Behringer Toro. If you have any questions about this bass synthesizer or the Arturia KeyStep Pro or the Nemesis delay by Source Audio, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for watching.